So we're going to try something a little bit different today. You know how we are, we're always experimenting. And so this morning what we are going to do is we're really going to have 3 talks. I'm going to talk for a few minutes, Glenda's going to talk for a few minutes, and we're going to show you a 5-minute inspirational video that speaks for itself. And this is something that was, Glenda tells me it was on Facebook, so some of you may have already seen it. But we're talking about the idea of what is enough. And I think you'll agree with me when this video is complete, that this video demonstrates the idea of having enough. So David, could you please share with us?
Can't is not part of your vocabulary. If you just put your mind to it, you can do it.
And you believe that?
Yeah. That's the crazy thing is if you're never given limits, then you think, I can do anything.
And if she could do anything, she wanted it to be this. What she saw her hero, Dominique Moceanu, doing on TV. There was just one problem. Jennifer was born without legs. A devastating birth defect that had led her natural parents to abandon her the day she was born.
It bothered me to think that there was a little girl that was left at the hospital and she had no legs, so I thought she needed a family that would love her and take care of her.
Sharon and her husband Gerald brought her home to the tiny town of Hardinville, Illinois. Population 50, they say, if you count the dogs and cats. They decided to raise her like they raised their 3 healthy sons, with no limitations and just one simple rule. Never say the word
Can't.
You said, I want to be a tumbler. You didn't have legs.
Right. You kind of need those, most people think, to tumble.
Well, think again. The girl who wasn't allowed to say can't was on her way to becoming a genuine gymnastics champion. She started at 7 on the trampoline with her dad. And after a few falls, she got the hang of it. In time, she was competing. Soon after that, she was dominating. And by high school, Jennifer Bricker, are you ready for this, was the tumbling champion of the state of Illinois. Soon, Jennifer was pursuing other sports too. Even one you'd figure she had absolutely no chance to play well, until it turned out she could steal the ball, even break a few rebounds.
And she could make baskets too.
She didn't consider herself handicapped. She was talking to some friends one time, and one of them said something about her being handicapped. She said, well, I'm not handicapped. And they said, well, you have to use a wheelchair. She said, just to keep them getting dirty.
One day at age 16, out of curiosity, Jennifer asked her mother a question.
Hey, is there anything that you, know about my adoption or biological family that you didn't tell me?
I said, okay, but you gotta sit down. And she said, Mom, I'm always sitting. And she said, maybe you should sit down. I said, okay, let me sit down. And she said, well, what's the big deal? Just tell me what my last name is. And I said, well, that's the big deal. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, your last name would have been Moceanu.
I knew what that meant. I knew that Dominique Moceanu was my biological sister.
When she finally tracked Dominique down, Jennifer wrote her a letter. Inside the envelope were adoption papers, a photograph, and a stunning piece of news.
My biological last name is Moceanu. That line, I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. Everything was there. The evidence was there. Jennifer looked like the spitting image of my youngest sister, Christina.
What a moment for anyone to even speak to their childhood idol, but for their childhood idol to be their sister, that's something.
She told me she was an athlete in the letter. In fact, I was her inspiration to start tumbling and doing gymnastics. And then on the phone call, she goes, oh, by the way, I have no legs.
And she's like, wait a minute, didn't you just tell me that you're an acrobat and you did all these sports and I could just hear the wheels turning, you know?
And I said, who is this girl? Oh my God, how did she have this attitude to persevere in life and overcome every obstacle? And she's my sister.
Jennifer has moved out to Hollywood. Where else if you want to be a star? She drives a specially equipped car and lives a normal, independent life. And she's earning a living. How else as a gymnast? She's an acrobat who has toured with Britney Spears. And now she's training for a classical performance at New York's Lincoln Center.
We got to go to Ohio and got to watch her perform. The audience just went crazy. They stood up and they were whistling and screaming and clapping and all this, and I was blubbered. I was sobbing because it was so beautiful. And it's like, oh my goodness, that's my baby.
The baby who was taught early on never to say the word can't.
So what do you think? Pretty amazing. What is enough? That's what we're talking about today. So what is enough? Think about your own life. Think about areas where you might say to yourself, I can't because I don't have enough, whatever. Like Lynn Twiss says, enough money, enough time, enough strength, enough health, enough. Don't we do that to ourselves? We hold ourselves back. We suffer from what Eric Butterworth calls I can't-itis. I can't. And usually it's because some version of because I don't have enough is what fits in there. Yes? Yes. We've got this poor me mentality. This idea that there's just not enough of whatever it is we think we need to get through. And so the reason that this video is important, I think, is because the story of Jen Bricker is an amazing story of a young woman. But more than that, it's an amazing story of what is enough. See, the thing is, this is like a soul-revealing demonstration of what is enough. This isn't just a story. This is a deep demonstration of what we're talking about today. The extraordinary story is about Jennifer, but it's also about her parents. Do you see that? And it's also about her parents, her biological parents that gave her up. Because they're the version of, I don't have enough. Now this story is very complex, and I invite you to read the story of Dominique Moceanu, the gold medalist, because her story is fascinating. She's written a book about her life. But the bottom line is, Jen's life started out looking like not enough, didn't it? Not enough healthy body, not enough body parts. And certainly, with respect to her biological parents, not enough love, not enough compassion, and as the story goes, they felt they didn't have the capacity, the skill set, the money to take care of this child, you see. This idea, not enough, what are we going to do? What happens in the future with this child, this baby with no legs? Not enough possibility thinking, the parents. Now along come the Bricker family, those beautiful people who live in a tiny town that some of us might consider not quite enough people, 50, if you count the cats and dogs. Yes? Here come the Brickers, and what I love about the Brickers is they brought forth enough willingness, enough love, enough compassion, enough patience, enough understanding, enough capacity. And you know why? Because they know the secret to life. And what they know is there's always enough. There's enough. They knew that they were enough to take care of this baby, and they knew that this baby is enough to have a prosperous, awesome life. Do you get that? They knew the secret to enough. There's enough here for all of us, and we're going to show you. We are going to demonstrate that. They had enough, and they knew that baby had enough. Because you know why? They were not looking at the obvious appearances. They were looking beneath that. They had a simple lifestyle. They lived in a tiny town, but guess what? They had a big love. They had enough love and enough willingness to work with this child. And they knew, you see, they knew her dream to be a tumbler. They knew the secret that her sister was that. Did they tell her? No, not until it was time. But did they hold her back and say, you can't do that? No, they encouraged her. They set the field for her so that she could live that. See, they gave her a family, they gave her time, they gave her encouragement. They had enough of everything that they mutually needed. Could you see the pride in these parents' faces on the accomplishments of this child? They knew the secret, that they always already had and were enough. And so was that baby. They knew that secret. And so this idea of sufficiency that Lynn Twist was talking about in the opening video, I love what Eric Butterworth says. Old language, but he says, there is an all-sufficiency within every appearance of lack. And the joy of the Lord is within every moment of sorrow. And to me, what that means is, no matter how it shows up, there is the activity of the divine. Now, for me, the activity of the divine was in process from the moment that baby took her first breath. Because you know what? The divine knew those biological parents would not be able to handle this baby. So the divine provided for the situation in the perfect way. The sufficiency was already there, always already. It just needed to come into manifestation. So I love the terminology. There is a benevolent something that is working within everything, no matter what. So this, the music, look for the silver lining. It's the truth. Within every experience, whatever that apparent adversity or lack thing is, there is this incredible benevolent something that is ready to reveal whatever the hidden good is. You guys told a story. In 108 in the Mojave Desert, and your RV needs to cool down, and you're towing your Prius on some little rinky-dink tow thing, right? That you didn't want to spend a lot of money on because you'd already paid a lot of money for your RV, and all of a sudden, unknown to you, the benevolent something saved you. The angels were there, and they saved you. You know why? Because the wheel on that thing that was carrying your Prius hooked onto the back of your RV fell off, and you didn't know it was ready to fall off until you were sitting there an hour and a half in the heat and went, there's something wrong with that thing. Do you see what I'm saying? The benevolent universe is always there, ready to support our every need. We just have to be open to it. We have to know there's enough no matter what, to realize the potential within whatever this icky thing is. And I got to tell you, there's lots of icky stuff, yeah? There's a lot of icky stuff in the world. Don't have to look very far. But the prosperous heart, which is what we're talking about this month, knows that there is enough. It's not about just getting by or just getting through. It's about thriving and blossoming and prospering and becoming the Ohio State champion through whatever that thing is. And guess what? This is the deal. What is enough? Well, it depends on who we are. It depends on our own soul's journey. What's enough for me in one area may not be enough for you. Yes? We have different enoughness. Now see, Lynn Twist, she needed a lot. You know why? Because she heard the calling of philanthropy, the caring for the human soul. And guess what? Her enough was a whole lot, but guess what she did with it? She shared it. She started programs. She's feeding hungry children. She's working with the rainforest, you see? Now, if I didn't need her enough, my enough is different. Am I making myself clear? We all have an internal yardstick for whatever is our fullness, whatever that thing is. We all are on a separate soul journey. And so our enoughness, I got to tell you something, in my lifetime, I've met people who've had so much money, so much abundance, so much stuff, and guess what? They just didn't have enough. Just didn't have enough. Feeling so empty, so like hungry ghost, so depleted that there's never enough to fill them up. I've known people like that. Thankfully, in my current experience, I don't. I don't go in those circles anymore. But the idea that I'm feeling so empty and I don't have enough. Let's go buy a Rolls Royce. I'm feeling so empty and I don't have enough. Oh, I got to get my Rolex paved with sapphires this afternoon. That kind of thing. Well, and guess what? It's never enough. It's never enough. Do you hear what I'm saying? Yes. So it's an inside job. And what I'm telling you is there's nothing out there. There's nothing out there that can ever fill an enough need, because we have to bring it from within. We have to feel it from within. Enough, I love what our author says. Our author in this book, Prosperous Heart. We're working with this month. She says, enough is the sweet spot where we easily feel gratitude and appreciation for what we already have. Think about that. It's that sweet spot where we feel gratitude and appreciation for what we already have, where we're comfortable with life on life's terms, where we're not always trying to get someplace else, get something else, Now, does this mean that we don't have goals and aspirations? Don't hear me say that. It means that we're satisfied with what is. We have a sense of purpose. We have this sense of inner calmness, this sense of inside security, this sense of safety where we feel nourished by life itself. Yeah, if we have a lot, that's frosting on the cake. Yes, yes. But does it mean that we have to have it? No. When we have enough, that's just the goodies. That's just the wrapping paper, see? So here's your invitation. Each week we promised during this month to give you tools to cultivate your feelings of prosperity. So here's your invitation. Open up your handout and work with these 3 ideas to cultivate feeling of having enough. The idea that list 10 things in your life that are absolutely miraculous to you, that you didn't have to buy, that you've already experienced, and that could happen to you again. The smile of a child, an afternoon conversation with a friend, hug of someone that you love. You see, if you can sit down and write 10 examples of things that are already magical and beautiful in your life, then what happens is you get this sense of really tapping into what's important, what's abundant. Second thing, make a list from 1 to 5. List 5 areas in your life where you have enough. Ramon, you can fill this one in right now. Ramon just got a car, right? You got enough transportation now, huh, Ramon? Yeah, I know you are. So you got shoes on your feet? Yeah, you got transportation, or you've got a way, you've learned the bus schedule, or your feet are getting you, you're walking. Make a list of 5 areas of your life where you already have enough. And then list 25 things that you absolutely love. Absolutely love. And ask yourself, when was the last time I did that? When was the last time I was around that? The beach, the mountains, family. I love to cook. I love to cook. I love to create beauty. I love peace and quiet. I have to ask myself, when was the last time I did that? When was the last time I relaxed? When was the last time I read something besides this kind of stuff? When was the last time I listened to the music that I love? This is the thing. And then if I'm out of alignment, I need to look at what my values are and how I bring myself back. Okay, my time's up. I want to tell you that we all have enough. Whether we know it or not, we all have enough, because you know what? We all are enough. We might not have everything we want, but I got news for you. We are enough, because we are an expression of the divine energy that God is. Eric Butterworth, my favorite guy. I am a richly endowed expression of an opulent universe. There is always a sufficiency to do the things I want and need to do. And I say, there is always a sufficiency to be my highest divine self. Thank you for listening.
So I just loved that video, and I was excited to show my 8-year-old grandson. So he looked at it. He was just like intense, just looking at, the little girl, jumping around, and he just stared at it. And he got done, and he goes, "Grandma, as soon as my legs go, as soon as I don't have any legs, would you buy me some stilts?" And he said, "I'll get on those stilts." And he goes, "I think I can win a championship." He was, it's kind of interesting, his whole take on the thing. But, it touched my heart, especially watching him, and how he had so much compassion for her. He was so neat. But the truth is that most of us, our talk is about what is enough, what really is enough. And most of us have been raised with this idea that more is always better. Whatever more we can get, it's always better. Like Lynn Twist said, more sleep, more time. And I find myself, I used to, I didn't get enough sleep, or I don't have enough time through the day. I don't do that anymore, and so as I was kind of looking at this talk, I was looking around my life at what's too much, what's enough, and really what is enough. And I was feeding the dogs. I've got 2 little dogs, and I realized that it's in the dog world too. Sometimes they don't think it's enough, and I have Paco, who's been around, and they're little chihuahuas, right? And he's been with us forever. And then we got Foxy, who was a rescue. We didn't name her Foxy, but she was named Foxy. So anyway, so I feed him, and Foxy just goes over and sees how much, right? How much more that Paco has. Than she has. And so I'm thinking, it's like it's ingrained in us, right? Of, more. And then I thought, well, that's not me. I don't care if anybody has more than me. I just really don't. It just hasn't been part of me. I know what is enough, right? And I'm at a birthday party, and there's cake being served, and somebody's cutting the cake pretty unevenly, okay? And it gets all the way, and all of a sudden, I get my piece. How they hand out these pieces? And I have this bite, and I'm thinking to myself, And this was before I was really, doing this talk. But I'm kind of looking at everybody else's, and they have these big pieces, and somehow I had this little one. And I have to say, my first thought was, geez, that's not enough. That's not enough. But because it's kind of this all-pervasive way that our culture is. It's just like, we need more, I'm not enough, or it's not enough. And that's the scary thing, is because it translates into sometimes I'm not enough. And I like what Eric Butterworth, I like him too. He's kind of an old-time talker, but I like what he says about scarcity. He says, scarcity. We live in scarcity. And that is true. It's like, scarcity, and it's, our city is scared, we live that way. And when we live that way, he said it shapes and he limits our life. We live differently when we live in this fear of not having enough. We live totally differently. And when we see, through the eyes of scarcity, it changes how we see everything and how we behave in the world. And the worst thing is it becomes this mindset. And it's all over culture. We put on this mindset and we live it. And he says that it's a false set of beliefs. It's seeing the world of not having enough. So it translates into every piece of our life. And this is interesting, I was reading all about scarcity, and they've done these tests, right? Not tests, but the researchers have done all these studies, and they've shown that living in this fear of scarcity, lowers our cognitive capacity, makes us dumber, right? Just makes us not as smart as when we live this way. And so the truth is that we don't have to live this way. We don't have to live in fear when we are tapped into who we really are. It changes everything when we know our divine power, when we know this incredible source that we have. And Butterworth says that we have 2 basic desires, our human desire and our divine desire. And he said our human is for security. We need security, right? I mean, we have to have secure place to live, and we have to have so much money, and we have to have, the things in our life and keep them secure. But he says our this divine expression is how we express, that we're made to express, to manifest, to grow, to have more and to be more than just the human self. And so our job is to be a balance, right? To just do the balance of life. It's what we talk about all the time, our humanity and our divinity. It's to be able to walk in this human way, but bring our divinity in and know this divine self that we are. And it's when we do that, we expand, we create, we love more. And I'm thinking it's not just money, but it's like ideas. I had this friend for a long time who she had inventions all the time, right? I don't know if you know anybody like that, but always have an idea, and they were going to get it, go to somebody and make it happen. But she never did. I go, did you have to talk to anybody about this idea? No. And then she'd have another idea, and she would always hold on to it. And I'm thinking that's the way that this limited thinking is. We hold on to everything because we're afraid. She wouldn't tell anybody what it was because she was afraid they'd go take it out to the world and, get it discovered or something. And that's what we do, We kind of just hold these things within us instead of working with the flow of the universe, working with, we hoard everything from ideas to magazines. We hoard everything. And once you're a hoarder, you hoard everything inside too. So our life is really a balance of giving and receiving. And when you get there, when you get to this idea of balance, there's always enough. There's always enough for us. We're not lacking in anything because we know that we're enough. We know that we can create. And the idea is to know that it's an inside job. Knowing that enough is an inside job. And that's what the key here is. Wayne Mueller calls it our inner thermostat. That we have to, that just like we have a thermostat that kind of controls, kicks on the air when it's hot in here, that we have that inside. Each of us have an inner thermostat, and it regulates our heart. And so he says, can you imagine, if we were really in tune to this thermostat that we have, that we go to bed at night and just go, it was such a good day. This was such a good day. And you would know the beauty of every day, of every moment. And here's what I love what he says, that we calibrate our thermostat, our own inner thermostat, by asking ourselves these questions. And this is interesting, and I'd like this is an invitation for you to think about this for a minute. When you do anything, ask yourself, do I truly love this, what I'm doing? Do I truly love this? Or am I just handling it? Everything in life that you do. And sometimes you just have to handle stuff. I was talking to Judy about that. Sometimes we have to do stuff that we just handle. You're not going to love it. And so he says if you can go to bed at night and look at that and see, did I love what I do? And then look inside and say, maybe I don't need to do everything that I'm doing. Maybe I can take a moment back. And I started to look at my life, and there's things I don't have to do that I do. I make myself sometimes too busy, where I don't have enough time. And the truth is I do. And I'm thinking about these moments, you guys, in our lives, and there's so many. In each of our lives, we have the opportunity to live this life of just abundance and beauty and love. And I'm thinking of these two things that he said, and I had to handle going outside to do some of the, cut some of the weeds out and things. So I went out and I have this big basil growing, and I just love the basil, but I had to cut it down and stuff, and I just had to handle it. And pretty soon, like this odor, the smell of it just was beautiful, and it's almost like everything just stopped, and it's a moment, like just this moment in time of my whole day. That was the best moment in my day. Now that might sound like I didn't have a very good day, but the truth is it was a beautiful day. But that was just one moment that life went on, everything else, but I stopped for a moment. I just breathed in the smell of this basil, looked at my green and the beautiful yard. In the background I could hear the birds, and it was a beautiful moment. We have moments like this. That's enough. Right? That's what enough is. I mean, it more than anything else that we do. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of day? What kind of day do you want to have? In the morning when you get up, what would you be doing? Wayne Miller asked us, if you could just like right now breathe in, and today could be the best day of your whole life, what would it look like? Moment by moment by moment. What would you be doing? Life's short. Why aren't we doing it? Because in each moment, and if you have to do things that you really don't want to do, there's stuff in there that are moments. Life is a moment. And I really mean that life is made up of the moments. So each moment that you have, connection with each other, with smelling the flowers, that's what's important in life. What would bring you delight? What would you be doing if you moved through the hours of the day? See, one time I heard that life wasn't a problem to be solved, but a gift to be opened. I love that. Life is a gift to be opened, and we have enough to open it and to love what we see. So my prayer is that we find our moments are enough, and we find a gift in the moment. And that's my prayer for you. Thank you.